The Amazing Casuals are back. That's all I'm going to say. Get excited. I know you were all pumped. I don't even think we finished the last season. That's how I don't think we podcasted till the end of the last time that we did The Amazing Casuals. Surviving Without Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back to pretend to be The Amazing Casuals, hopefully this time for at least the entire season. But we will see.
That's a really long intro. We have the Surviving Without Survivor specialists who are body doubling as The Amazing Casuals. We need a good byline there, but I think we could get through this season.
I like it. I mean, look, I actually think that this was a little bit more enjoyable because I didn't have a rooting interest. I feel like I was a little corrupted watching the Survivor one because I was rooting heavily for the Survivor players. So that makes it difficult because I'm heavily rooting for Rupert and Laura. I almost rooted for Corinne and Eliza, and I was heavily rooting for Chris and Brett. And so, like, it makes it hard. And yes, I was rooting for Eliza and Corinne. That was a joke. But it makes it hard to, like, watch that objectively. Whereas this one, like, I don't know any of these people. I know who Deangelo Williams is. He lost me a lot of fantasy games because he wasn't that good of a fantasy running back. He was he was there with Jonathan Stewart, and the two of them, one would have 100 yards. The next game, the other one would have 100 yards, and they drove everybody freaking insane. But that's all I know. I don't know anybody else here, and that made it a lot of fun because I got to say, I don't think I've ever been happier to see a team finish first when I know it really doesn't matter than I was with Hung and Chi.
They were awesome. They're so good. And I'm completely with you. This makes sense why. I mean, it's obvious why no one should ever start, a new show on a returning season. But I was with you. I was like, well, who are these Big Brother people? Like, who are these Amazing Race people? And like, I know these Survivor people are. And like, this is fine, but I made it less episodes than you guys did. But I think Log Chi in his comment right here really just encapsulates how we're all feeling. He said, y'all are doing this again. This is going to be a train wreck.
Probably.
It will, because again, we don't really know what we're talking about. But like you said, I was way more invested in these people because I didn't know them. And so a lot of these people, I'm just like, people wearing purple or like father and son ? But Hung and Chi were awesome. They were really humble from the start, and they crushed it.
I wrote down the order of finish, so I have it all. I have it all. I'm ready to go. I wrote down their names. I'm going to butcher some of the pronunciations. I missed what Leo's girlfriend's name was. Alana? Was it Alana, or am I just messing up and it was another A name, and then Aparna was with Iswar?
So it's spelled Alana, but pronunciation is questionable, but I assume it's Alana.
Okay. Because nobody really said her name, but
right. I have them as Tinder nerds.
There you go. Gamer girl.
That's what they told me to call them.
That's a great. I mean, she just looks like Gabby, and it's going to drive me insane the entire season because she's got the big glasses and the black, and like she's I'm the nerd, and so I'm going to call them Gabby and Christian probably the entire season. But Gamer Girl said that Hung and Chi were her favorites in the preseason video. I didn't know there was a preseason video. So back to us being casuals.
Oh, there are. I was just telling Phil before I went live, I was on the Amazing Race subreddit to compare what it's like to the Survivor subreddit, and it's significantly less toxic. Maybe I'll actually post this in the subreddit. Maybe we'll get some more followers. But they had all the like, you know how before like Survivor season, they're like, all right, Alexa, do your favorite Jeffism, or like, who do you want to vote at first? And they have all those things, and it's actually really adorable. So who knows? Maybe this will be the rejuvenation that the Amazing Race clearly really needed.
Well, I'll tell you what, this was refreshing to watch. It's been a long time. I haven't really watched a live TV show in who knows how long. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what was the last thing I sat down and actually watched that came out? And it was probably Survivor. I don't really normally ever watch anything over the summer. I haven't watched Big Brother, although I do know Nicole did what Nicole did tonight because I got to watch the last 10 minutes. I don't want to spoil it in case anybody's here and they're like, F you.
Those 8 minutes of Big Brother that I like passively watched was more than enough than I'll ever need. Clarified that I'm never going to watch Big Brother.
I also found out that Memphis was a guy. The entire time people have been tweeting about Big Brother, I thought Memphis was a girl.
And there's a person named Christmas.
Yeah. I guess Big Brother goes for names.
But we're here to be the Amazing Casuals, not to be the...
And as Alexa takes off her earrings, like, God forbid she looks good for you Amazing Race fans.
No way. I'm getting casual. I was going to say, if we did Big Brother, we would have to be the big casuals.
Yeah, that would be good. I like that. But all right, let's, I don't feel like breaking down the Amazing Race is stupid. I feel like breaking it down, like, this is what happened first and this is what happened second. That's how me and Will kind of did it. But Will's a lame guy, as I like to call him.
Do you know what I would like to do? I just thought of this. How about as we go through challenges or when they come up, for everyone, we should say if you and I were an Amazing Race team, who would be nominated to do what and how we think we would do.
Absolutely. So I think that's fun. I think that's a good start.
I want to be fun. That's why I beat out Will for this job.
Alexa killing it. I don't even think Will knows the Amazing Race is on. Will will be back tomorrow with more college football bets for you to lose on. He did that last week. He was atrocious. He will be back tomorrow. But I got to say, talking about the end first, I'm not shocked Nathan and Cody lost. This challenge was rigged against them. The only way that they were not going to go home in this challenge was if Deangelo Williams and Gary, whatever his last name was, picked Gary to accidentally do it, which they did, and Nathan and Cody still went home. They had no shot in this because even like the people who didn't necessarily have rhythm, they have the like Chi, just fantastic. You can tell he's an analytical guy. He could sit there and he could get it in his head almost like a metronome of like boom, 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 where Nathan or Cody, whoever it was, could not get that going through their mind, and you could just see it. And I was like, as soon as they got there and everybody else started catching up, I'm like, Nathan, Cody are going home. Like, there's no drama here. And then what I hate that the Amazing Race does is that all of the confessionals come from post-leg.
Right.
So you could tell that Nathan and Cody were super depressed. Like Deangelo and Gary weren't that sad. They were just like, oh, it was so bad. But like you could tell that they still had a little smile going.
Right.
There was no happiness for Nathan and Cody. They looked depressed.
And I did think, and I know this is something that this was like a complaint that we had about the Amazing Race, where not every single, it's not like, oh my God, like Nathan and Cody and versus Deangelo, like they're literally sprinting with the goats. Like that never happened. And once the Olympians and the NFL players start running, and then like the two Southern BFFs are in last, like I'm going to put my money on the Olympians and the NFL players to be able to run with the goats. So that's like, that's something that is just different from Survivor, but I guess Survivor does try to force big moments every week. But I will have to say, with like the bottom three, I was kind of on the edge of my seat trying to figure out who was going to pull out first, because all three of them were just absolutely horrific.
Yeah, they were horrible. And I guess it was more of because like I've watched enough of the Amazing Race. I was like, Deangelo's not mad enough. Like Deangelo Williams is an NFL running back. If in the first leg, he would have been pissed. Now, Kelly and Lavonne, I thought had a chance, but then also the fact that was it Kelly who was doing the challenge? I'm not going to get the names right on the same sex teams yet. Like Will and James, they are the same person until one of them does something where I'm like, that's Will. So right now, like Jerry and Frank, even I don't know which one's the son and which one's the father. I just know one of them is Jerry and one of them is Frank.
I legitimately don't know. I'm in the exact same boat with you.
So I will say this, whoever it was out of Kelly and Lavonne, I felt like they had built up that story enough with I'm dyslexic. And I feel like I was like, they're going to overcome this. Like that's going to happen in this episode, because I almost feel like for it to be like I'm dyslexic and have that be an excuse would almost be like a bad look kind of for Amazing Race on episode 1. Like
I am this absolutely perfect specimen of athleticism, and athleticism is what I assume a huge part of the Amazing Race. And the last leg being something that's sprinting oriented, she outran the goat.
Yeah.
At the end. She totally made up for not doing well in the drum challenge. So I'm with you. I think that would have been just a weird look if it was like, look at these two incredibly athletic women and they're just going to suck the whole time.
Yeah.
I was waiting. I saw that and I was like, okay, we have two Olympians doing an athletic thing. Like, can we beat Crystal Cox? Like, can you outperform Crystal Cox? And they did. It wasn't pretty, but they did.
Well, they did, but I mean, they still have a lot of season ahead. You got to remember, Crystal Cox finished 6th, right? I mean, she was legit. Crystal Cox, was it 6th or was she 5th? Is Kenny 4th or 5th? Why am I forgetting this? Oh, Maddie was 4th. Yeah. So Crystal Cox got 6th place. I mean, that's legit. But all right, let's talk about these. Let's talk about these teams though. I have it written down in the order of finish. Hung and Chi. Let's talk about Hung and Chi, because first of all, what in the world were they thinking to not just go back to their boat and actually look at it? Why did they? Because at first I was like, oh, you can't go back to your boat. But then when Jerry and Frank realized that they didn't have the combination, they went back. Why did they insist on just going one by one by one by one by one and testing it out? And they still beat. I wrote it down. They went fish by fish and got it before two people from from their flight, which is insane because they were on the first flight. They still beat 2 people from that flight. That's insane.
I think, like you said, I think they're just very, and I think they would say this too, they're just very analytical. And I think to them, the most efficient process was to make sure that every other option was incorrect. And I think for many other duos, that wouldn't have been the right strategy, but for them, it clearly worked.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have had the patience for that if I was playing. I would have been like, let's go back, let's look at it, and let's not waste our time with all the little ones. But I mean, I guess if you're doing a grid, you might as well make sure you don't miss one. You know what I mean? Like this way, you just memorize one thing and you say, you go to that line, I'll go to this line, and let's just start going. And we'll just go one at a time the entire time. It worked for him. I mean, and then she comes out and she dominates the challenge, which was amazing. And it led to the best line of the night, which was Victoria saying he's Asian. He probably played piano. And then all of a sudden he's on the boat. He goes, thank you, Mom and Dad, for all the piano lessons. That was the best line of the night. I was dying.
Was so good. I was like, wow, like I get where she's coming from there. And then he's like, to confirm, my mom is the reason I won this. I was like,
it's like one of those things. I'm sitting there and I'm like, should I be like laughing at this or should I be like kind of questioning her saying that? And then as soon as he said it, I was like, this is amazing. I love this. This is
I was like, he's down with it, so it's fine. And you know that he yelled at his mom every single day saying, I don't want to take piano lessons. And then if they end up winning the Amazing Race, all of that money is going directly to their mother.
Exactly. And they're going to buy her a grand piano. Yeah.
Are they siblings? Question mark. Dating?
I think they're dating, aren't they? Or are they married?
Oh, they're married. Yes, I wrote it down. They're married parents.
Yeah, they're married because I think at the beginning, Hung was talking about how she's like really small, but she's tough or something. I don't know. But she was like 5 feet tall and complaining about the barrel. And actually, I think that gives her a little bit of an advantage because everybody else is so tall. Like Riley and Madison are like 6'5" each, you know, the villains from every 80s volleyball movie. There they are.
And I think having that big backpack is just even tougher for the people who are tall because you're bending over and the thing like half the time was like turtling over their heads too.
Yeah. So
love that they just left not to like go too far backwards, but I love that they were like, okay, you need to just leave these barrels in the middle of the party. So like the dancing hat man just like stands there with like 50 barrels around him.
Yeah, little do we know that the next day in Trinidad there were 9 million people who had ACL tears because of these giant barrels in the middle of a dance party. That interesting.
Party was fun. And by God, was this filmed before COVID?
Yeah, I know. and then she had the ending where she wiped out hard and smashed her head and was like, "I'm fine." And Phil was like, "Are you though? Because I'm not quite sure if you actually are. We probably should concuss."
Yeah, her eyes are like going in two opposite directions.
Yeah, exactly. But so they finished first place. We find out that they're going to continue racing. They're going to Bogota, and so what? Bogota, whatever. But is it Bogota or Bogota?
No,
or
the accents on the A. It's Bogota.
Okay, well there you go. Yeah. I'm going to say Bogota because
it's Phil.
It reminds me of Pagoda. So anyway, so they win. They're going to continue racing. Do we like and Hung and Chi to actually have a chance moving forward, or do we think that they were kind of like a one-trick pony here? What do you think? They finished first in the first leg. That is really, really good. You know, that's as good as you can get. Is this going to keep going, or is there like calm, even-keeled demeanor going to get them through this? Because that seems to be how they're going to race it. And spoiler, Alexa, for the Amazing Race versus Big Brother versus Survivor, that was the person who won. So the calm, cool, and collected.
I have to assume that in general, that is a very, very needed and sought after quality in the Amazing Race, because the whole point is you're with someone else. And I think that as soon as you lose your chemistry with your person, you're screwed. Mm-hmm. So I think that's good. I don't know what a lot of challenges entail. I mean, I think if it comes down to like a brute strength thing, I think most other groups could probably beat them out on that. But if it's anything that's thinking or like knowing how to train your brain to go really, really fast and really, really slow in quick intervals, like this steel drum game, like that reminds me of what you always talk about with puzzles, where you're running in a challenge and then you have to stop and do a puzzle. Mm-hmm. That's what this steel drum thing was, because your mind had to just focus from sprinting and swimming around to then memorizing lines. So I think if they can continue to tap into that, I think that's going to bode really well for them.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. I think that they're definitely destined to do pretty well. There was one, I think it was Ernie and Cindy. They kind of had a similar relationship where they were both able to stay pretty calm throughout, and that got them the win. Although they weren't the most interesting people on that season, and that season was absolutely rigged, and the reason I stopped watching Amazing Race. But hey, I'm not going to keep dwelling on that. Andy and Tommy were robbed. Bullshit. So anyway, Hung and Chi, I think, have pretty good prospects here. We move on to second place, which is Michelle and Victoria, and I don't think they have very good prospects. But Alexa, tell me I'm wrong.
I think you're very right. I think, is it Victoria who was the kind of the main focus of the episode?
Yes, Victoria was very high energy for my liking.
I have and what's her partner's name?
Michelle.
I have a lot of faith in Michelle. I don't have a lot of faith in Victoria. Victoria is the one who's going to keep me glued to the TV. Michelle is the one who's going to drag them to victory. That is my take.
Or as far as they're going to go. Yeah.
As far as they are meant to go in this race. And I thought Victoria was hilarious, but I think that pressure really gets to her. But at the same time, they got second place, and everyone else, I think it took them it took her 2 or 3 tries. Everyone else took at least 5.
Yeah, it took them a lot. And I will. So, I mean, she did say she played piano, and I think that having some sort of musical background probably helped in this situation, because as we saw with Gary and with Cody, I guess it was, there was no musical background. So I do think having the musical background helped. They kind of remind me, and I'm just going based on very limited knowledge because I've seen maybe about 8 or 9 seasons of The Amazing Race, but they reminded me of what they wanted the Twinnies to be. Except the Twinnies were a little more aggressive and in your face, and both of them were like that, both Natalie and Nadia. This feels like there's going to be some feuding between them, but it seems like they're going to be your loud, love them or hate them group. And I feel like after one episode, I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are like, I love Michelle and Victoria. And I think that, that's exactly what they're put on here for. Same thing with the Twinnies. Either you love them or you hate them, and that's what it was. So, and obviously, Gamer Girl says Twinnies were worse. Obviously, it's been one episode.
Yeah, exactly. And God, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I know this isn't really as much. This is not a thing in Amazing Race versus Survivor, but I feel like if we could have consistent dialogue between Hung and Chi and Michelle and Victoria, I would really like that, because they're very, very different, but there's at least a one-sided rivalry so far. So I think that would be, that'd be a really cool rivalry to explore, but I don't know the extent to which that actually happens.
Yes, I agree. And it's always tough because half the time they don't even really have rivalries in The Amazing Race. They kind of try to force it, and it doesn't really work.
Phil, if you and I were running The Amazing Race and it was a steal the show, what are we doing?
Well, you've played piano, right?
When I was 12.
Okay. I think I would end up doing this. I was actually thinking about that. I think I would be pretty good at this one. So one, I played drums when I was very young, but I played drums enough. And as somebody who does a podcast and hates listening to podcasts, I only listen to music, and I drive everybody nuts because I will do the beats to the songs instead of just singing the lyrics. I will sing the notes obnoxiously. And when you get a 23-minute Pink Floyd song and I know every single note to it, that can be really obnoxious. So I think for me, this wouldn't be that hard for me to pick up on. Also, CBS had put out the Survivor Ultimate game back in the day, and one of the challenges on it was doing the steel drums. I think I would do pretty well at this. However, I don't know, with the way steel was done in the quotes, if we would pick up on that, it would be a steel drum thing, or would you go for strength? And at that point, we would obviously pick you.
Obviously pick me for strength.
Yes.
I am as shocked as our 31. We just lost a listener because you said that.
Not only that, we just lost The Amazing Race in the first round because I said that.
I mean, we would lose The Amazing Race quickly due to the fact that both of us have debilitating fear of heights / general anxiety. Yeah. But this is one, steal the show. I don't like doing anything that's relatively embarrassing, so I would have thrown that at you. But upon watching it, I think I would have been able to do. I don't think I would have gotten it on the first try, but I actually think this is one I would have been able to do generally well on. The fish one is one I'd struggle with because I wouldn't know the right way to approach it immediately.
You just approach it like Minesweeper. You just go one at a time, and you just go. That's all you can do. And I think I would have been pretty good. I'll be honest with you. This is my dream Amazing Race episode. If I can only compete on one episode of The Amazing Race, to go to Trinidad and Tobago and to not have to do anything with heights. I'm on a tropical island. This is what I like. I like beaches. I like boats. I like, parties essentially, like on the beach.
Yeah.
Like that's what I like. Once you get into they were showing the freaking like, I don't know if they're in like Russia or wherever they are, where the guy's got a falcon. We got a falconer sighting here. I mean, come on. Like, I can't do that. I can't climb to the top of the Alps. I hate that with a burning passion. That would drive me insane. But this is what it's all about. I could do this any day of the week. I would hope to be Nathan and Cody and just get eliminated and be like, got to hang out here the entire time. And I'm assuming they probably hang out because they can't go home, right?
I assume it's something generally similar to what they do on Survivor. But I'm completely with you. Like, all that, like bungee jumping, anything heights oriented, anything like I could do dance oriented, but like there was a quick preview of like Deangelo on a tightrope, like in all this garb. I was like, there's no freaking way I could do that. So I'm with you that this is good because we probably get voted out first. So like you said, maybe this is good. But the goat racing actually seemed difficult. Those goats came out really hot, and I feel like they were way stronger than advertised.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but Deangelo and Gary, the way they started was as soon as the gate opened, they yanked as hard as they could, so the goat couldn't run. And I don't think people
worked backwards.
Yeah, I don't think people did that. And obviously, they're the two strongest people out there, two biggest guys. But I don't think people realize that if you just pulled on it, it wouldn't take off like a horse in a horse race because you don't have any control over it. And I think it was either Michelle or Victoria completely ate it. So
yeah.
And
then when Hung and Chi are going, Hung like flipped. Like I think that pad that Phil was standing on was like very wet because she just like slips and almost like knocks her head open.
Mashed her head on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with this steel drum thing, I don't think that it would really matter. Like if which one of us did it, I think we would both be fine. Yeah, especially with how long it took some of the other people, like we definitely wouldn't have been the worst. And I think both of us, even if we had a little stress at the beginning, would have been able to focus enough and been like, screw it, come on, bend your knees, do the awkward head nod that we all know ourselves for, and just hit the thing and do it right. Like, I don't think it would have taken that long. Definitely not nearly as long as it took Cody or Kelly or Gary. So we would have been fine. We would have been through to the next round. No doubt about it.
I think so. Can I ask two Amazing Race, like general questions that you may or may not have the answer for?
Sure.
Okay. Evan, the football player, Gary,
Deangelo and Gary. Yeah.
Gary. Gary made a comment at the end. They were on the boat towards the goats, and he made a comment that said, "We're on a boat that has one engine, and some of the other boats have two engines." What's up with that?
I think the engine blew out. I honestly think,
okay.
And I'm pretty sure that like when they got to the dock, it was probably like, take whatever boat you want. Like so they don't talk about it now, which is kind of a shame, but it sucks. But they used to tell you like, hey, you have $100 for this leg of the race. They give them money and then they use that money to buy things. So there was probably a dock with like 40 boats, and it was now buy your boat the same way you would buy a taxi. And so they pay them, and they might have just accidentally got one where it was like, oh, crap, we didn't realize until it was too late. So then you just keep going because it did make a big difference. Kelly and Lavonne ended up passing them.
It did make a big difference. And so that makes sense. This one, I think we had talked about it last time we did the Amazing Casuals, but I forget because I didn't care. Early on, a lot of people get on the first flight. Some get on the second flight. Is that just like a total like 8-hour disadvantage? Like
it was 30 minutes. It was only 30 minutes different.
Oh, okay. Are they always really close?
Nowadays, yes. They used to be
horrendously unfair, if not.
If you watch season 1, no, see, it was better because it actually gave you a purpose. Like at the beginning of the Amazing Race, I always laugh when they're sprinting to their bags. I'm like, thanks for wasting your time. You're all going to end up on the same plane anyway. It literally doesn't matter. Cause that's what normally happens is like, everybody's like, oh, we got to get there. We got to get there. Who's going to get in line first? And then like, they do these things where they even it out. I forget exactly what it's called, but they'll even it out purposely where everybody can't get in till maybe 8 a.m. So it'll be in the order of how you arrived. But what is that going to give you? A 3-second advantage to rip your paper open? Like it really doesn't make a difference. And so in the early days, they had huge gaps. And equalizers. Thank you, Logchi. So the guys, I think it was season 1, maybe season 2, the guys who get third place literally are notified by production while they're still in Alaska that the race is over and they have no chance of winning because they don't even get to race to the finish line.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. Like, I mean, we're talking about how this wasn't a really like crazy ending. I mean, how does that happen if like they're in the wrong country?
Well, I
So
mean,
that
hey,
I like that makes sense.
the greatest finish, at least from what I've seen, was there was literally one where they were sprinting to the finish line. Two teams were going head to head to beat each other at the finish line. And it was early season where there were gaps and the equalizers weren't as big and heavy. And I forget all these people's names. I'm sure that people in here are remembering who I'm talking about. It was the man and woman who ended up losing to the two big guys, like Brett and Eirik or something like that. It was something ridiculous, Riken or something. But they ended up sprinting, literally out sprinting them to the finish line. And the guy who was with the woman was essentially Shane Powers. So you can imagine how he took the loss. So that's, yeah, those are those. I want to ask you though, let's go back to these because I want to make sure we get through all these people so that people know. Chris and Alex, thank you. It wasn't Reagan. Chris and Alex are two of the most boring people of all time.
Riley, very exciting names.
Riley and Madison. What's your take on our guys, Riley and Madison? They were third place on this one. Volleyball players who met in Hawaii and went to USC. I
just have to say those are some of the most impressive beards I've ever seen, and I hang out with people who have pretty impressive beards. So
you thought it was better than my Quarren beard?
Love Quarren beard. It was a little better. Madison's was unbelievable. Your Quarren beard was very, very close.
And I only did that in 4 months. They said this was 4 years.
I know. What were they saying? They were like, we weren't allowed to grow beards when we were at USC. So then we like just went buck wild.
Because you know how Southern California is.
Yes, of course. I really like them. I think they're a ton of fun. One note that I wrote down is that both Madison and I think it was Chris. Is it Chris who got Cody? They both they're both like hitting on the women who are helping them do the drums, which I thought was hilarious. But no, I think they've like, I like that their role, that they're not like the intense athletes. They're like the fun athletes. Because we clearly have the intense athletes. I like that they're way goofier.
I agree. They remind me of the Chippendales, which I know that means nothing to you. I'm more just throwing this out for people.
Yeah, that means something to me, but it's very different.
Yeah, it's very different. Well, no, the guys worked. They were Chippendales dancers, and that's what these guys kind of remind me of. Where like they kind of look. I think those guys were actually twins.
They're like
but these,
large and muscular and bearded. That's
and like they kind of look the same, and I feel like they're there for the same reason. That's all. I feel like they're there.
Well, we shall see. I can't believe you think I didn't know what that was.
I know you know what Chippendales is. I'm saying you don't know they literally called the guys on the season the Chippendales.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. No, we all know what Chippendales is. Come on.
I know. It's like, come on, Phil.
Yeah, they were awesome. All right. 4th place, Will and James. Now, again, I have very hard time remembering who is who, but one of these guys really wants to be there, and the other is really doing it to be supportive. Did you get that vibe?
The other one is a great boyfriend, and he is the one who was doing the steel drum. Yeah, I mean, I forget which one, but he's the one who is leading the confessionals. I've applied to Amazing Race 9 times, and then the other one's like, and I'm his boyfriend.
Yeah, and I think it was James. Okay, so they're saying James is the ultra fan. What I like about James is
model, okay.
What cracks me up about James is this guy has wanted to play forever. And until he applied with his boyfriend, he was never going to get on. And that's what's so funny to me, because you see these things happen all the time, even with Survivor. Like poor Jeremy was never going to play until he was able to go on with Val and things like that. And so we see James here where he gets to go on and play the game, and like poor Will just has to go along for the ride, where James's mother and sister and whoever else he applied with would have been so much more into the Amazing Race. Will is the only one that they were going to let him play the game with because he's really good looking, and they probably, because I'm looking now, they wanted a gay couple on this season, and this was the only way they were going to go. And I mean, it seems like James is going to be amazing. So,
and it's really funny because he like kind of like inadvertently says it. He's like, I've applied with my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my dog, my cat, and I got passed with my boyfriend, and I've never been happier. When you know, like his parents are sitting at home and they're like, I would nail the Amazing Race, and your boyfriend got put on instead of me.
And he sucks, God. But yeah, I guess he was on America's Next Top Model, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
they remind me of.
You know what? That probably helps too, because maybe that pulls America's Next Top Model people.
Yeah. This reminds me of the goat farmers. I forget their names as well, but that's
you're well versed.
I know enough people. To BS, but notice how I don't know their names. That's why we're the casuals. But so they remind me of the goat farmers. I feel like they're going to constantly finish in the middle. and they're going to go way farther than we think they should go, somewhere like around like 5th, 6th, something like that. Place Josh and Brent. Thank you, Jenna Quirk. But I feel like they're going to end up going way further than we think. They're going to beat some really good teams, and then they're going to go home, and it's going to be like the happy send off. Like they're not going to win, but they're going to make it a lot further than we think they should. Yeah, here we go. Logchi, the goat farmers were bottom every leg, and I think they finished 4th place. Like it was ridiculous.
Well, they strike me as like, it's kind of like when we're doing our prop bet game. It's like, who is going to make the jury? Like it's so easy to pinpoint who is going to make the jury on a season, even when you know nothing about them. So I feel like for them, they're not, from what I've watched so far, they are not amazing at anything, but they're good at pretty much everything. And that sounds like a group that's going to make it really far. Because like the athletes clearly have certain deficiencies, and like the nerds will have, or the Tinder nerds will have some deficiencies. These two, I think, will be good enough at pretty much everything.
And I just got shown up in the chat, so here's my casualness. They won. That shows how much I remember that season. That was the season with the Twinnies, and the Twinnies got 4th, and Josh and Brent won. And I'm over here, like that's how much I remember though. Like I don't even remember who won the damn season, and I watched the entire season because I just remember they were on it, and I figured that they hadn't won the season. But they were just finishing bottom, and Boring and Bland says they were the lowest average for a winning team ever. I could see Will and James doing something like that. So Will and James, you're welcome for the compliment. I'm over here thinking you're going to get 5th or 6th. You might win the whole damn thing. Just survive.
We are casual people.
Casual as hell.
Casual as hell. I really, the only other note that I have, this is from the beginning. And again, huge casual here because I don't know anything. Phil was like, we've traveled 1 million miles and we've had all these crazy seasons. And this is like what I assume is like the Eric giving away the necklace, or Sandra, like I can get loud too, what the F. But there's this couple, and this guy goes, silence is golden. And the girl goes, then why don't you shut the F up?
I watched that season. They were annoying as hell, and I don't remember either of their names. Here's another fun one for you, Alexa. Wait, Jenna Quirk, the same season as the Twinnies and the Chippendales. So the Twinnies, the Chippendales, and Josh and Brent were all in the same season, and I don't even remember that.
So you watched one season of The Amazing
Race. That's what it sounds like. I honestly thought they were all on different seasons.
Phil, here I am thinking Phil's seen like every season of The Amazing Race, and he's just referencing one.
Oh my God. All right. Well, all right. Jerry and Frank get 5th place. What do we think about the prospects of father and son, Jerry and Frank?
I think it's really cute. I think the son, whose name is either Jerry or Frank, will definitely be carrying the team, both in terms of activities and I think personality. But I think having like a father-son duo where the dad is just like, oh, I'm just here to keep my son happy and I'm here to have fun. I think that's just a really cute and fun dynamic. So I don't have high hopes for them making it far, but I think they're going to be a lot of fun.
I think they're in trouble because I think that the father, Jerry, is just eventually going to weigh them down. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying Log Cheese says the son is Frank, yet Gamer Girl says, oh no, they're both Frank.
She just said it reversed. She said it like Yoda.
She said it backwards. Okay, Jerry is the father.
Yes.
And Frank's the son. There we go.
So I think Jerry is going to hold them back. I think that he is ultimately going to be the reason why they don't make it further. Right. Because so the way the roadblocks work is you have to switch off on the roadblocks. Now you don't have to do all of them evenly. It's not like it has to go 1-1, 2-2, 3-3. But like if you were to be up 3-0, you would then have to keep going. Like the other person would have to keep going to catch up so that eventually by the end of it, it is even. So that's why I'm thinking that Jerry is eventually going to weigh them down. He's going to do something that's a little bit over his head. And I mean, being a basketball player, I feel like when basketball players get older, their knees and hips just kind of go to crap because they're jumping all the time. And I feel like that's something that could end up hurting him in this game and ultimately knocking them out. So I don't see Jerry and Frank going very far. I do like the relationship. I don't have another father-son to compare them to because they are not like Connor and Father, whose father's name I do not remember.
I like Connor and Father. To only escalate this further, Timbertina's brother was on that season and was allegedly the first boot. So
remember,
need to watch the. Do you know what season number it was, Phil? I guess I can look it up because
we were in college when that aired. It was in 2000. I want to say I was living in Mahoney. So I would say it was probably 2012.
Yeah.
Or 2011, 2012, something like that. Fall 2011, spring 2012. It was somewhere in there.
Beautiful. Okay. I might go back and watch just.
Just look up which season, the first season for the 20s, and that's the season.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. How many seasons were the 20s on? 3, 2?
Wait, say that again?
How many
they were in
seasons?
2, I think.
2 seasons? Okay.
Yeah. But luckily the second time they're not on very much.
Yeah. From my understanding, you are not the only person with that opinion.
No, I am not. All right. 6th place, Leo and Alana. They are the Tinder nerds, met on Tinder. They're really smart. What do we think?
Dating for 10 months. Do we think they're going to last? And by last, I mean their relationship and not their placement in The Amazing Race.
I think their relationship will last. I bet you they're still dating now. I feel like if you're going to do The Amazing Race with somebody you're dating for 10 months, especially when they have like the demeanor of those two, these aren't two people who are like, we're just trying it out. F you. These are people who are like, hey, like, this is great. Isn't this fun? Look at what we're doing. Like, yeah, I think
Logan Leisure goes, you mean Gabby and Fishback, which is what they will be referred to as from now on. But, I think oh my God, spoiler, maybe they are married right now. But yeah, I think you're right. Neither. The one Amazing Race episode that I've ever watched was, I referenced this last time, there's a couple and they have to do the leap of faith in Atlantis. And it's like a 3-second water slide drop, but you couldn't pay me $1 billion to do it. And this girl is like absolutely not having it. And the boyfriend like pretty much dumps her on the spot. They don't strike me as like angry competitive enough to get to that point. They seem like they're here for the adventure, but also they want to win.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like though, like they'll be able to, when they lose, they'll be able to be like, okay, that was okay. Also, I forget that this was filmed in 2018. That is so brutal. At the beginning when they're like, they're like, we're on The Amazing Race. It's like The Amazing Race is on TV. Holy crap.
I know. Could you imagine getting cast? Because Amazing Race strikes me as similar to Survivor, where they're probably only casting people who are like really into The Amazing Race. Now, you get on your season, you film it, and they don't even air it. That's so bad.
And it got delayed a whole entire year from when it was supposed to. Like, it's just insane.
Why was it delayed? They just did, like, were the ratings not there?
I don't think the ratings were there, and then they were going to do it in the spring, but then the Survivor thing didn't have. Then they didn't want to air it because they wanted to have something for this fall. I mean, it worked out for CBS, but yeah, I don't even know when was the last season of The Amazing Race on. When was season 31 of The Amazing Race? When did that air?
Wasn't season 31 the one that we did?
No, I don't think so. Was it? Was that season 31? I thought that was season 30, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, good for them, but I'm really curious, like, what their game plan was. 2019, apparently, according to Gamer Girl.
Wow. There you go. Well, yeah, season 31 was. Yeah, no, that was. So, wow, we are going back-to-back seasons of The Amazing Race. That's insane.
Wow. Good for them. I really hope that they get what they want out of this.
Yeah, no, and I hope that everybody ends up being happy and content with how they are edited and all that. And poor Nathan and Cody got to wait 2 years just to be the first boots. That sucks, man.
That sucks. At least they like don't have the obligation to throw a watch party because watch parties aren't really kosher.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Cole Jordan said April 2019. So that means season 31 aired in April 2019. This one just aired in October of 2020. It's a long gap. And I understand that Amazing Race could just do one a year. It's not like that would be like out of control, but that's a long gap.
It's a 1.5 year gap. That's a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really
sucks. 7th place was Iswar and Aparna. How do you feel about the two of them? These are the two who not only are they smart, they will tell you they're really effing smart.
Effing smart. I think I will like them. They were very overshadowed. I think they're the brother and sister, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think they will be entertaining to some extent. I think this episode like wasn't really their shining moment, but I think it's because they got like 7th place and they were fine.
Well, and also they had the worst strategy, which honestly was my strategy. And honestly, it might not have been that bad, but when they were like, oh, we'll just like bring it up. People might like trip over each other, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then they end up getting on the last flight. They still end up managing to finish 7th ahead of people who were on the first flight. But it's just funny that like I was saying the same thing and then they come out being really effing smart, which I guess I'm really effing smart. And they say that. And then I'm like, oh, well, you were wrong and I would have been wrong. And this time it actually did matter for once. And now you're on the last plane that is 30 minutes behind. So that sucks. But
yeah, that does suck. I don't know. I don't have like a major take on them, but I feel like they'll do pretty well.
Yeah. Number 8, Kaylin and Haley. I feel like it is the one thing that the Amazing Race always must have is 2 blonde women on the same team who look identical.
Yeah.
That is what is always on this show. I feel like it happens every single season with the exception probably. Even like Janice and Janice and Brittany, they don't look the same, but like they had to have their 2 blondes. Alexa, what do we think about Kaylin and Haley?
Very high energy. Will consistently mess up which one is Kaylin and which one is Haley. Yeah. Because not only do they look the same, but like their names are similar enough when you say them next to each other. I don't know. I mean, they seem kind of like the most normal or just like most like average. And average sounds bad, but I feel like they're going to be like high energy, but they're going to be like all positive. I don't anticipate any like crazy fights between them or any like complete blowouts with them. So, but they do remind me of just like a lot of blonde people who are on Amazing Race.
You know what cracks me up? What? I know her name is Janelle, and I said Janice because I knew it would piss off Big Brother people. And look at that group chat.
Who's Janice?
It was Janelle and Brittany, and I was like, it's Brittany and Janice, right? It's just Janice.
I don't even know what.
I knew it was Janelle. I knew that would make you all mad. Come on, I know because Janelle is like really well loved. Whereas
Jennifer is OMG. This is great.
I don't know if Brittany was as well loved, but also like I know Nicole wasn't all that well loved. So like I can get all the Big Brother names that were right from the Amazing Race, but I know Janelle is like everybody's favorite. So Janice, and I'm going to continue to call her Janice now, just as I hate. What was the name? Somebody in the chat now, and I'm asking you to be back on my side after just trolling you. But what was the name of the 2 blonde girls from the season with the Chippendales? Because that's who Kaylin and Haley remind me of.
See, you're already doing a Kaylee and Halen.
Kaylee and Halen. There were 2 blondes on that season, or it was the season with Ernie and Cindy. There were blondes in there somewhere. Somebody help me out.
I don't know. Why don't we go to the next group while they're
and it's going to show up. Number 9, Kelly and Lavonne. I did not think they were going to survive for a little brief period of time there. What do you think about them?
I do not have a lot of faith in them. I think they're, I think they're both super competitive, but I don't think their chemistry's there. Whoever was the one not participating in the steel drum, she was very cool, calm, and collected. But I'm really nervous for the 2 of them.
Yeah, I think they're in trouble. There we go. Caitlin and Brittany. Thank you, everybody. That's who it reminds me of. No, Kaylee and Lavonne, I think, are going to be in trouble because I think they, just like Deangelo and Gary, are going to run into the problem of a lot of physicality. And that's really it. And I'm not saying they're dumb, but I just don't think that like Hung and Chi can win the physical challenges. Like the Amazing Race isn't that physical. It's sort of physical. You know what I mean? So I don't think that being a super big physical power player is as useful as just being able to get through the physical challenges and then, get through these little random BS things of whatever Deangelo Williams is doing while he's on a tightrope with like a clown suit on. You just got to get there. And Gamer Girl, you're right. It actually was Jennifer and Carolyn that I was thinking of, not Caitlin and Brittany. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have faith. And you guys in the chat, you let me know. I don't think that either of like the main professional duos of the Olympians and the NFL players, I don't assume they'll do well. I know in Survivor, athletes generally tend to do pretty well, but I don't have high hopes for either duo.
No, I agree.
The next 4 episodes.
Although I do have more faith in Deangelo and Gary. And I think because they realized what a mistake they made this time, and obviously they don't know what the challenge is. They just kind of know like the little hint of like steal. And they were like, oh, pick the strong person. But it's like, dude, you're in Trinidad. Like steal in quotes does not mean pick up heavy objects. Like you got to think about that.
Pick things up and put them down.
But I could see them overcoming a little bit better than Kelly and Lavonne to go a little bit further in the game. But I don't think Deangelo and Gary are going to be huge characters on the show. I feel like they always end up putting like a famous NBA or basketball or something player on there. And then what'll end up happening is like they're just kind of on there to draw the viewers in and they don't have a big episode. So I was actually kind of surprised how focal Deangelo was on this episode because he had a lot of confessionals. But I don't think that will happen throughout the season. I think they'll kind of fall to the wayside while some of these other characters just completely take over. So, who's your winner pick after episode 1? I know you don't watch The Amazing Race, so who you got?
I will give like a shout out to Hung and Chi, but I feel like they're really obvious. So maybe I'll go with our, can you tell me, is it Josh and Will, the couple?
Will and James.
Will and James. Okay, I got one of them. I got Will.
You said it like reversed of how it is, so I was like, what is she talking about?
Yeah, Jerry is the father. Frank is. I will give them. I will say one of those two duos. I think one of them is going to take it home.
I'm gonna go out on a little bit of a limb, and I'm gonna go with Iswar and Aparna. Sorry, Iswar and Aparna. That's what I'm gonna go with. I feel like Riley and Madison will go far, but won't end up pulling it out. I feel like Will and James will do pretty well, Hung and Chi. But I like Iswar and Aparna because they already had like their mess up. And it's like, hey, look, we like messed up the worst in the first episode. Now we can overcome it. So kind of like them. And I think Kelly and Lavonne or Michelle and Victoria are going to go home next. That's my prediction. I don't know about you.
I think, who did you say? Kelly and Lavonne and who else?
Or Michelle and Victoria.
I would say Kelly and Lavonne or, yeah, that's a good choice. I would say maybe Haley and Kaylin.
That's so annoying. Why can't it be Caitlin? Because Haley and Caitlin would be better, but the fact that it's Kaylin and Haley, it's impossible.
They sound so similar. So I would say either of those two are going home next week.
Mm-hmm.
I like
there you go. There you go. With that, you have it. We just did 46 minutes, and I feel like we didn't actually talk about nonsense, which is pretty good for an Amazing Race thing. I don't think we did that well in the last one.
Yeah, and maybe I've only watched like 3 episodes of The Amazing Race my entire life, but this felt very action-packed, and sometimes in Survivor, I'm like, okay, we're talking, and then it's 2 challenges, and okay, now you and I are going to podcast about it. Like this, I felt like there was a lot to cover, but maybe it's just because it's a different flavor.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe it's because we're into it and we don't know these people. Whereas I feel like with the other thing we already had, like we said, we knew about them. So this will be fun. It's hard to avoid spoilers for The Amazing Race. So we're going to do our best. I hope everybody else will also avoid spoilers. Even if you know the route, please don't talk about it. And yeah, we didn't really talk about Nathan and Cody. You're right, Lesser Muppets.
We kind of did.
They went home in the first episode. It's tough. I liked them. I think they were going for the Mark and Bopper type thing. Hey, look at me just name dropping. Mark and Bopper, greatest of all time, when Mark got sick, and then it was Bopper and whoever in the All-Star season. I don't think I've ever been more disappointed. So we're going to do our best, though, to avoid spoilers. So everybody, please avoid spoilers and don't put them in here. I get a lot of people know what the route is without necessarily knowing the eliminations. That's fine. Still, don't post what the route is because it'll be fun to just kind of discover it as we go along through it. And yeah, Alexa, my final question to you, because Logan Laguerre just put it out there. Would you grab a catfish by the mouth and catch it that way?
I'd rather do that than anything heights oriented. So yes.
You'd like to do some noodling, I guess it's called for some reason. I don't understand why that's what it's called.
Yeah. I don't like that word. I'd rather grab a catfish by the mouth than noodle anything. But yes, I would do that. I have no problem with that. I will rise to that occasion, since it sounds like you would not be interested.
No, not really. Not really.
Okay.
Can't say I would be.
I'll take the fall on that one. Don't you worry.
Well, we'll be back next week with the yield side. I'm curious to see what that is because I haven't seen a yield yet, but I kind of want to find out about it on my own. We will not be doing a predictions and power rankings for The Amazing Race, so don't get your hopes up, kids. Alexa, give everybody who's only tuning in for The Amazing Race. This is the most viewers we've had live in a very long time. Amazing.
Live viewers is
let them know what we have coming up.
We have a lot of really great stuff coming up, and lucky for you, only a little bit of it is Amazing Race oriented. So next week, what we're going to do is for our Surviving Without Survivors specialist Disney animated movie rewatches, we are going to be recapping The Princess and the Frog, which is a movie that I've actually never seen before. We are going to be doing that after our recap of The Amazing Race. From my understanding, it is going back to Survivor's time slot of 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. So next week, we will be watching The Amazing Race, recapping The Amazing Race right after at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Right after that, at around 9:45 or 10 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be recapping Princess and the Frog. And then that following Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, we are going to talk to Sharia Lloyd about her boot episode, Survivor China episode 6. So we're really excited to talk to her. So really big week next week, really whatever you're into. If you like Disney, if you like Survivor, if you like The Amazing Race, and especially if you hate Big Brother, we are the channel for you next week. Become a patron. Go to patreon.com/Survivor Specialists. It is a great time to be a $20 patron right now. But if you can't chalk that up, we have $1, $5, and $10 tiers for different amounts of patronage. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us 5 stars on iTunes and spread the word. And I hope you Amazing Race people are not too disappointed by us not knowing what we're talking about. But I would actually say we did a pretty good job.
I think we did pretty good this time. Compared to the other times, this was golden.
This felt real. Yeah, it's because Will wasn't here.
That's all it really takes is getting Will off the channel. Bye, everyone.
Bye.